It's on intimacy and sexuality. Actually, the funny thing is, we were conducting a marriage seminar with many different people, and everyone was given a topic. And we were the only Asian couple, but they gave us the topic of sexuality. So we're like, we're Asian. Why did you give us that topic? We don't usually talk about it. But that was our topic. So I guess there's a theme here, right?
Yes. I studied sexuality for six months. While I was doing my doctorate, and it is something very, very important, something beautiful, something that needs to be celebrated. And so we are on tonight. Are you ready for that? Okay, I don't hear very enthusiastic response. Some of you are hesitant.
They're eating.
Yes. I hope that it doesn't affect your digestion. But it's a hot topic for us, and just relax. We're not gonna get too personal with you guys, okay? And so just relax and be able to enjoy and gain something meaningful for all of you, okay? I'm gonna start with a notion, a general notion that people have about marriage. And a lot of couples come to me, and then they tend to tell me that they cannot get along with each other. They almost have to even separate from each other because they are so different from each other. How many of you hear that? We're so different from each other, you know? How many of you find in your marriage how different you are from each other? How many of you, in all honesty? And it's okay, raise your hand. Yeah, we are so different. And then I want you to know that being different should not be the cause for any marital disharmony or, separation. Because I believe that we are designed to be different. Okay, our physiology, our emotionality, and everything. We're going to talk about that tonight. So my whole topic tonight, together with my wife, is that we're here to help you to understand our differences and how our differences are supposed to work in such a way that we can bring complementary relationship. It is not that we are different, that's an issue, but not knowing how to use it to complement each other, that's an issue. But there's one difference that may cause conflict in relationship in the long run. That is value differences. And one person loves going to Las Vegas all the time, for instance, right? And then one person loves to serve in the community. That may be an issue, But other than value differences, other differences is something that we need to be aware and something that we need to learn to celebrate in our marriage. Are you ready for that tonight? Okay, so that's the direction that we are taking. And so, Joel, can you give us a clue as to how we are so different?
So when my husband says, honey, I don't have clothes to wear, he means I have no clean clothes to wear. When I tell my husband, I have no clothes to wear, that means I have no new clothes to wear, right, ladies?
So we may say the same thing, we may sound like saying the same message, but it can totally mean different from each other, right? And I want to mention one more thing. It's like if a woman come to you, your wife comes to you and said that, honey, you were never, ever there for me. Have you heard that? You were never, ever there for me when I needed you. You were never, ever. And then when a wife tells you never, ever, what husband picks up is like, that's a lie. And that's more than an exaggeration. It's a lie because it's not like I have never, ever. I was at least there for 50% of the time. But then for her, what does that mean, Joe?
I felt very lonely at the time when I needed you most.
So at that moment, as a wife, she feels as though he was never, ever there for you. So we are so different in this way. And even using the same language, right? But then more fundamentally, scientists have discovered that men and women are so different, so much so that John Gray has to say, come up with a book, right? How many of you know the title of the book? Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus, right? But then study shows that men and women are different fundamentally. In what way, Joel?
Our brain is wired differently.
Have you realized that? Our brain is wired differently. So we're going to show you. Can someone help me to get to the part where I show you man's brain and woman's brain, how we are wired so differently? Okay? So, okay, let's go on. And it's going to be interesting. So I want you to respond. So when you look at, let's just keep going until you see man's brain, woman's. Oh, right here, brain is wired differently. I want the ladies to answer. Okay, I want ladies to look at man's brain. Do you see man's brain? Okay, so man's brain has two parts, left and right, right? And then there's a connecting link between the two. And so you can see how left brain and right brain is connected so loosely for men. So loosely. And there's not many, but so loosely connected. So I want ladies to tell me what that man's brain looked like. I mean, please don't be too negative, okay? So anyway, what that man's brain looked like to you guys? Come on. Anybody brave? Boring. And I'm sure you're not talking about your husband, so I know for sure. Okay. What else? Who else? Huh? Empty. Oh, wow. So are you saying that men do not know anything and men are dumb? And that's what the society tends to say, right? What else? What else? Simple. Okay, simple. Huh?
Straightforward, someone said.
One-track mind. Okay. But wait a minute right now. If we were designed by the higher power, okay, to be created this way, God may not have created us in such a way that we would have all those lackings and negativities. So if you were to look at it as it was designed by someone, okay, to be useful, then what would be the strength that man can bring to the relationship? Clarity. Okay. Shh. Objective and all that. Okay. What else? Pardon? Focus. Men are focused.
Yes.
So when they go to the war, right? War zone, man can focus on fighting without having to think about, oh, this is time for my baby to be fed and all that. Man can separate. Mm-hmm. So man's brain tells you the way it is designed is that men are able to what? Separate. If a woman were to go on a war zone, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Yes, I'm going to worry about what's happening at the household.
Exactly.
Hard to separate.
One lady went on a shooting, range, and then they found a deer, and then the lady claimed that she knows how to do the, what is that?
Hunting.
Yeah, she knows how to shoot the gun and all that. And then husband was able to, gauge everything for her to just push the trigger, and then the deer was going to be gone. And then she was about to do that, and then she started tearing up. Oh, no, I remember the Bambi movie. I don't want her to lose her mom and stuff. So what does this woman's brain, on the other hand, it's like a spider web, right? And when you look at woman's brain, what does make man to reminded of? What do you think of for men? Give them equal chance, right? What can you think of when you look at woman's brain? Pardon?
Complicated, he said.
Complicated. Complicated. Okay. Anything else? Pardon? Messy. Oh, wow. Okay, let's talk about that later. Yeah, kind of. Okay, I see what you're saying. If that were to be a strength given by the higher power, what kind of strength woman would have in her brain? Men are able to separate?
They say multitasking.
Multitasking. Okay,
Yes.
what else? Which is the opposite of man's ability. Man has an ability to separate. Man has an ability to separate, therefore they can focus on one thing and they don't come out until they're hungry or tired, you know? And then for women, if that were to be a strength, what would that be?
Yes, we're very connected. That's
Women
right.
are able to connect with his environment, with her environment, connect with everything, so much so that for a man, if the curtain's color does not match with the carpet's color, it really doesn't affect man's appetite, right? Right? You can focus on eating and then worry about that later, right? Yeah. But how about for a woman?
It really bothers me. You know? We have to get that fixed.
And so then women are so connected to their environment in such a way that even the, the picture on the wall is a little bit, kind of twisted. Crooked. And then they said that it would make them feel kind of crooked. And so they have to go and fix that first. And is that the reason why women are able to remember things better than men?
Yes. Because
You know
we
what
are
I'm
very
saying?
connected. Like tonight, I will remember everything. The food, the beautiful food, the way, how the environment.
Yes.
I will remember what, you're wearing, who I was sitting with, everything.
How many of you guys in this room who, you're telling the facts about certain things, Oh, it was a rainy day, or you wore this clothes and that clothes, finding yourself always being corrected by your wife. Be compassionate to men, okay? We kind of focus on one thing without being able to connect all the dots. But women are able to connect all the dots, and they're able to experience things kind of collectively, not just emotionally, also physically, and also other aspects. And so I want to tell you that we have so much to separate, so much to celebrate. And then ability to separate and ability to connect can come together, then it's going to create something really, really powerful. So we're going to talk about that as we go on further, okay?
We're going to talk about definitions and our approach to sexuality, how it's very different for men and women. For women, you want to talk about men first?
Oh, yeah. For men, when it comes to sexuality, for men, tell me if I'm wrong, for men is more so about here and now kind of thing. And yesterday is yesterday, today is today. And so for men, sexuality is here and now. And, they said that one-time event, one-time event kind of thing for men. But for a woman, it's different, right?
It's like our whole orientation of, the whole process. We can emotionally and bonding.
It's
and
kind of
all
interesting that as soon as we talk about sexuality,
It's too
people
quiet
became
here.
really quiet. I found myself getting nervous. But they said that for men, it is here and now kind of thing. But for women, it's a whole life orientation. It's more of a process. And what's interesting is that for men, they engage themselves in an intimate act of sexuality with his wife to be connected. So they do that to be connected. We're not an animal. I mean, you know, man is interested in sex, not just because of sexuality itself, what that fulfills you, but for the connection you can get from it.
Yes.
And then a lot of times men are just kind of labeled as being animalistic and all that. But I mean, there are men who are like that. You know what I mean?
We will have compassion.
But Penang doctors are not like that.
No,
okay?
no, not here.
They're very holistic people,
That's
right?
right.
And
But
so,
that's very important because I think for women, we may be off guard at the intensity of men approaching us, or our husband, I'm sorry. But it's because they want to get close to us. And that's the only way they know how really to say, I love you, I want you, sexual way. But for women, we're like, we have to be prepared, right?
So that's a problem. Man wants connection. I mean, so that they engage in sex to be connected. But for a woman,
we have to be
they
connected.
need to be connected to engage themselves in it.
Yes?
So no wonder we have a hard time meeting each other.
Yeah, I'm a crackpot and you are
you're crockpot?
yes.
Yeah, so slow cooker when it comes to sex.
And you are?
Man is like a microwave. They get heat up pretty fast and then, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the secular notion out there, okay? That's what people say. But I mean, these doctors are not like
No,
that. Okay,
they're fine.
They're not
Yes,
microwave,
no.
okay? And we're going to talk about that, okay?
So let's
as
talk more in details about how men and women get aroused.
Yes. Well, before we talk about how men and women get aroused, that's a hot topic, right?
Okay.
That's a hot topic. But before we talk about that, and let's talk about, we need to talk about, you know, some fascinating survey results that we need to discuss tonight, okay? And that's going to just blow your mind away. They did a study with 1,000 men and women, okay? And they asked this one simple question. What is one goal? What is the goals? What are the needs that you try to fulfill through your marriage, okay? What are some of the needs that you want to fulfill through your marriage? So they asked that question to men. And the number one answer that most people gave had to do with sexual fulfillment. So number one need for men was to be fulfilled sexually. So for men to be fulfilled sexually has something to do with masculinity. We're going to talk about that later, okay? But for a woman, their number one need when it comes to marriage is for, are you ready for this? It is for companionship. They want to be
Understood.
They want to have that companionship
And
where
have
they are
them
understood and
and
acknowledged and all that. And then their sexual needs, sexual fulfillment through their marriage happens to be, do you know what number?
Yes.
For man is number 1, but for woman it ended up being number 14.
So what was number 13?
Well, that's the problem. Sometimes when you look at the statistics, it's hard to understand, but there's a deeper reality that we may need to dig in a little bit, okay? Before we go on to fourth course meals or whatever we have before us. Number 13, while number 14 is sexual need, number 1 is companionship. Number 13 happens to be something that just blew my mind away.
And that was?
That was none other than, are you ready for this? Write it down. Gardening. So they rather garden than to have a sexual relationship with their husband.
But garden with their husband.
Oh, gardening with their husband.
Yes.
So why would that be more important than, I mean,
Because when you do something together,
Uh-huh.
then you feel close.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you feel close, you're open.
But in the meantime, what do I do with my desire? What do I do with all that, what I want to do? I mean,
Garden first.
garden first. Tilt the soils first. And so initially, I had a hard time understanding that findings. I don't get this. This is junk. I'm going to throw this away. But then I came to realize that there's some amazing secret that can shed insight to men and women when it comes to sexuality. And that is that for a man to be successful in the business of making their relationship to be filled with the intimacy in a way that we are designed to have, man needs to learn to make it non-sexual in his approach to sexuality. The more you become non-sexual, the more it becomes sexual for her. Are you with me? Are you with me? Some of you are frowning.
For example,
For example, for a married couple to hold hands for a man, it may not mean much for a man. Because when you can sleep together with her and all that, this holding hand doesn't do anything, doesn't mean anything. And used to be like electrifying and all that.
used to be.
Right? But holding hands in Malaysia is like sticky, right? But then it means different for a woman, right? So what would that mean for you when I hold your hands when it no longer gives me any electricities?
It means that you care. You're mine.
Okay.
You're mine, yes.
Okay, and then it also means
It's a tender.
it also means that as a man, I do not treat her as a sex object, and I treat her as a whole person, and I am genuinely and deeply interested in having that companionship with her. And that's why holding hands together for a man, for his wife, even more meaningful after marriage than before marriage.
Everyone
And
has to hold hands now.
so start holding your wife's hand right now. Hold hands, hold hands. Okay, you can wash your hands later. Okay, hold hands first. Hold hands, please. You do that with your wife. Hold her hand. Okay, hold each other, hold each other. And then looking at each other, look at each other. You guys, you look at each other. Please, look at each other. Yeah. Don't stare at each other. Don't stare at each other. Look at each other with affection. Look at each other with affection. I know you're tired, okay? I know you're sleepy, okay? Somebody's falling asleep while I talk about sexuality. They need counseling, okay?
They just appear to be.
Appear to be.
Yes. Not
So for a
necessarily.
man to be non-sexual, it is the way to turn her on to be sexual, okay? And yes. And then let's move on to the real nitty-gritty part, to where we talk about how in the world does man get aroused. Okay, we need to understand how man gets aroused, and then we also need to understand how woman gets aroused. We already talked about how companionship means a lot for her, and how about for men? Well, for men, it's very simple. Men are more visual than women. Men are more visual. So they get aroused by looking at the billboards. They get aroused by looking at, their wives. And they get aroused by seeing things, okay? And they did a study on even Christian men. They did a study on Christian men. And how many of you would be affected by the sin that you have seen while you were in a train station, and then beautiful lady was coming down the steps? How many married men, Christian men, would be affected by that? And while they themselves were engaging in a sexual relationship with their wives, they would just pray to God, Lord, please erase that scenery from me and all that. And they said 90% would be affected by that. And then 10% lied.
Okay, so men are visual.
So men are very visual. Men are very visual. And then secondly, every 72 hours, when the sperm gets filled up, then man gets aroused.
72 hours,
72
lady.
hours.
We have to put it on the calendar.
Put it on the calendar.
72 hours.
Okay, Penang Hospital requires you to have a relationship with your wife, with your husband, every 72 hours. So man gets aroused physically, and the man gets aroused by looking at things, by being visual. Yeah, with his wife, especially. And then even by looking at things, and then there's so many things that conjures up, all of those emotions. How about women?
Men are visual, women are audio. That's why when we are dating, we love to sit very close and for him to have whisper into our ears or softly talking like this. So we're very audio.
And then it's kind of interesting that Song of Solomon, in the old time, he was the king of Israel, a man of wisdom. And then if you look at Song of Solomon chapter 1, you find something interesting in that Solomon was praising this woman whom he was in love with, and then he would say something like this, okay? Don't quote after him. Don't try to imitate him, okay? He says something like this: honey, your hair looks like a goat's hair. I guess goat's hair back then was really shiny and all that. So your hair looks like a goat's hair. Your neck looks like a deer's neck, and blah, blah, blah. So in chapter 1, you find Solomon, being a poet and just like pouring out his heart for her in a very poetic manner. And so then from that, I noticed that women are very audio and they like to hear things. So then how often they need to hear?
Every day. A lot of times, right? How beautiful we are.
Every day.
Every day.
Okay. So
yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not here. Today's all we have. So every day.
And so now I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to say what you need to say to your spouse, to your wife. Whisper her in her ears, okay? Don't say it loud. I love you, okay? Don't say like the way I would do to my dog, because I had a dog's name. I had a dog's name, Happy. And then my son came up to me and said, Dad, whenever you call your dog Happy, you don't sound happy. So I would like call her, Happy, come here. Happy, come here. And so whisper to your wife tonight and tell her whatever you needed to say, how much you love her, and then all that. Okay? I will give you like 5 seconds to do that. Whisper to her tonight. Come on, I'm not joking. Please do that.
The ears.
Please do that to your wife. Please do that to your wife. I have a lovely couple here tonight who did that, who demonstrated how to do that to his wife. So I'm going to have to bring up this wonderful doctor and his wife, two of you, if you're able to, yeah, please come forward. Okay, give them big hands, everybody. Give them big hands. Yeah, two of them. Give them big hands. Give them big hands. Come on. Come on. Come on up. Yeah. Come on up to make it fun. Come on up. Come on up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Come on up. Come on up.
What a wonderful couple.
Aren't they lovely?
Yes. Very beautiful.
So I could see him whispering to her just like this, you know. And then, so how long you been married?
20.
20 years. You guys look so young.
Because I'm a plastic surgeon.
Plastic surgeon. So how many times you did it on yourself? I'm just kidding. That's amazing. 20 years of marriage, and then still have that, you know, romantic feelings for each other. By the way, the reason why we're doing this tonight is because according to American calendar, Valentine is coming up. Yeah, it's a Valentine banquet. And so Valentine is coming up, and then you both are very brave souls. So I'm going to ask them something that I think they are prepared for. Okay. And so I'm going to ask him, what is your name? Dr. Eung, okay? I'm going to ask Dr. Eung to share his affection and love for his wife in public. Everybody say, hey, everybody, okay, cheers, everybody. So say something in your heart for her.
你问我爱你有多深，我爱你有几分。
Oh, very romantic, very romantic. I can see that. It's written on your face, yeah. And what does that make you feel? Is he always romantic like that?
Yes. I
Very
know.
romantic
Yeah.
like that? So you must have like 12 children or something?
Can't afford it.
Okay. Okay. Anything that you want to say to your husband in public? One
He
thing
know
that
what
you
I
appreciate
want to
him the most.
He knows.
Hmm?
He knows.
He knows.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
No need.
We don't need to know?
No need to know.
You don't need to know. What can I say? Let's give them big hands, everybody.
What a wonderful, beautiful couple. A lot of chemistry.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's talk about how woman gets aroused by being audio, right? By being audio. And so then what's interesting, this is the interesting thing about sexuality, is that when it comes to timing, while man is more than ready to engage in a sexual relationship with his wife, oftentimes wife is not ready for the intimate act of marriage. And therefore, man needs to help her to be prepared.
Yes.
And then man needs to withdraw. And thank you. You guys are eating and I'm talking. And that's fine.
Yes.
And I forgot my train of thought. But
Men
while-
is ready to do it, and then women.
while man is more than ready to do it, man needs to withdraw his desire to fulfill himself in order to meet her needs. And I was really fascinated by reading Scott Peck's book on road less travel. And in that book, he talks about how mature and responsible love has an ability to wait. And you are able to delay your need to gratify yourself to be able to meet the need of your spouse.
Yes.
Is
Very
that something
mature.
meaningful for you?
Yeah, love is patient.
Love is
right?
patient. And so, how in the word a husband need to prepare his wife for sexual and holistic fulfillment in marriage?
Well, we talked about being non-sexual, and spending quality time, preparing her heart. And then a lot of conversations, intimate conversations. And I think also touch.
Okay.
We women, yes, in a non-sexual way.
Then man needs to develop this ability where, if a woman is not ready, if a wife is not ready, instead of forcing it upon her, you're my wife, and then visiting her like a thief in the night, and then, hey, let's do it, and then wife goes, what? And then, you know me, or no, I don't know you, and then and you're about to report the guy. But, you have to really go through that process where you come to know each other in a way that she would be prepared. So please help me to understand what are some of the steps that man needs to take in order for her to be prepared. So there are steps here.
So we like to, like we talked about, we like to feel comfortable, and we get aroused by gentle touching, and then we have to also feel very safe and connected and comfortable and all of that.
And then what's interesting is that Song of Solomon shed a tremendous insight on sexual development, in that Solomon was audio, your hair is like a goat's hair and all that, and very, very audio, very, expressive in words and so forth. And then second chapter, you start touching her hairs and things like that. So there's definitely an excitement that comes with, being able to touch each other in an appropriate way, right? Yeah. And so then after that, what's interesting, this is what's so interesting about sexuality for men and women, in that while man is prepared first to go on and finish it, man needs to wait and withdraw his desire to fulfill himself and delay to gratify himself, and then prepare her. See, that takes mature love, that takes agape love, that takes sacrificial love, right? I mean, man needs to prepare her while he is more than ready to do it. Right? And so then what's the crazy thing about this sexuality is that it better be genuine, in that while he's more than wanting to fulfill himself, you need to prepare her. And then when she's prepared, you allow her to go first to reach the state of orgasm. Since you're medical doctors, I don't have to be so specific, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you guys are eating and try to avoid me this conversation. I don't know why we are here. But you see, you allow your spouse. I want to tell you, I want to give you a testimony from my life, my relationship with my wife, is that I can honestly tell you that what we have today is better than 35 years ago when we just got married. How come I don't hear any applause? And it is because I came to realize as a man, more than me trying to fulfill myself through her, but for me to fulfill her becomes a lot more satisfying as a man. It becomes such that it is really building my healthy sense of masculinity. To make her happy is my happiness. To allow her to be fulfilled is my fulfillment. And that's how I am learning to be built up as a man. You see? But what's so interesting is that when I'm more than ready to fulfill myself, set that aside. So that's why it takes more than technique. You have a heart for it. You need to have a heart for your spouse. And set that desire aside, and then be there to fulfill her, and then arouse the sexual pleasure in her that allow her to reach a state of orgasm. And then what happens?
I go to the moon.
Well, you don't go to the moon by yourself.
No.
No. This is a beautiful part, okay? You don't want to miss, okay? You don't want to miss. This is $1 million conversation, actually. Yeah. And that's okay. And then my wife reached the state of orgasm, and then she wants me to join her. I think it's a beautiful process where she wants me to join her. When I join her together, then both of us go to the moon together. And then my wife comes down with a moon cake from Malaysia. You see? So what's amazing about being able to explore sexuality together in a way that we were designed to celebrate is that when I, as a man, be there to lead a relationship in such a way that she would be fulfilled first, and then I would be fulfilled, she would be fulfilled in such a way that it would be just unthinkably better than the time when I would sort out to meet my own needs. You know, if I were to go and meet my own needs, despite of her feelings and despite of what she wants, how unprepared she is, I may force it upon her. And then I did a lot of, marriage counseling, and sometimes like women are like, not my wife, some woman tends to say, oh, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes to finish. And then man does it, and then without her being able to cooperate, and then for a man to engage himself with her without her affection, without her passion, and then at the end, you may be fulfilled initially, and then you just feel like as a man going down the drain. You are not fulfilled, you're not empowered as a man. But if I am there to fulfill her, and then we go to the moon together, then we come down, then it makes her feel like, she almost wanted to worship me, so to speak, because she feels that my love for her is pure and genuine. And it didn't always start that way, And so I would like to challenge each and every one of the doctor's couple at Penang Hospital to experience both of your sexuality in such a way that you will be able to reach the moon all the time whenever you do it. And you will be able to experience the love for each other in a way that would energize you, that would synergize you, that would allow you to be younger than ever, so that both of you and your family would go on a long way. And I have some practical suggestions to make as we close, okay? We're gonna go down, and we're gonna start eating too, okay? And so we have some few tips to share with you. Number one, they found Dr. Fisher and his research team found something fascinating about sexuality between couples, is that woman tends to experience greater level of orgasm more frequently than ever when she is able to respect her husband. When she is able to respect her husband for his character, for his genuine care, then women are very much more likely to experience orgasm in a way that cannot be compared. So these are the suggestions. Number one for men, earn your respect by being genuine. Okay? Gentlemen, earn your respect by being genuine. Genuinely care. Not just outwardly, but genuinely care. And then thirdly, show affection. And then allowing her to be included in the decision making. That's important. And then do kind words, forgiving, and then also ask for forgiveness. Learn to say, I'm sorry. That's going to really build your sexual fulfillment in a relationship. And let her be prepared, which we talked about. And make it restful. especially when she's go through a period and all that. You don't schedule a lot of activities, making it restful, which I didn't do very well in the early beginning of our marriage. Do not raise voices. Don't be demanding. And don't feel attacked even when she criticizes you. You see, this is a sign of bigger man. Because if we have weak ego, whether you become a doctor or not, it doesn't matter. And sometimes when you are operating your life out of weak ego or low self-esteem, nothing can boost you up. And in that, when you get criticized, you take it personal, and then you start attacking her in return, more criticism and more judgment, then it gets vicious. So bigger man takes the criticism from his wife and learn to be objective and be calm about it. And it took me about 10 years to learn that. But as a result of learning that, my wife feels so safe, and then she can tell me anything. Even after our presentation on the way home, she would tell me this and that. We could have done better, this and that. I would not take it personal. Okay, next time we do it better. I take notes and writing things down and allow her to empower me as a team, and we get truly synergized. And in that whole process of embracing her with her faults and shortcomings and with her, opinions and ideas, it may be hurting because she may be speaking the truth about you, and that you learn to embrace it, allow her to teach you and coach you in such a way that you grow to be a bigger man. Then there is no limit how much you can be as a man. You will be a man of impact for the society, and that goes beyond Malaysia. Okay? Everybody say hearty applaud on that one. Okay? Yeah. Wonderful. And then this is important. Be permissive in understanding her. You see, sometimes men try to correct her. Men try to change things or fix things, because men are from Home Depot mentality, right? And so instead of doing that, be permissive in understanding her without having to agree with her. I mean, we have no time to discuss further in that. Oh, this is important. Regularly deposit to the emotional bank when it is a good time. Don't wait until you have bad time, or don't wait until you have critical moments and then try to work things out. Go to the council and all that. No, when it's a good time, when things are well, you see, deposit so much on your emotional bank for each other, so that when you go through a moment of thick and thin in your lives, you'll be able to withdraw from it, and for the future. And so invest on it, on your emotional bank as much as you can. Almost done. Remember birthdays. Remember birthdays.
Anniversaries too.
I know some of you feel guilty, right? Remember anniversaries. Yeah, and remember anniversaries. And then have a date night once a week, you all can afford it, right? Have a date night. And even if it means twice a month, that's okay. Something that you do to each other regularly, create rituals. Just like the way you do things every day. When you allow relationship to be part of your rituals, then that's gonna create synergy and power in your life. Okay, make it a habit. And then finally, bring flowers, write a card to her.
Mr. Reagan.
Yeah, like Mr. Reagan. Mr. Reagan wrote a note to his wife while he was in the governorship and the presidency for 28,000 times. I know, you go home okay, how come you never wrote anything to me? When Mr. Reagan wrote 28,000 times. And then man would answer, well, that's why he became the president of the United States, okay? And I'm not, okay? But you see, when it is no time to celebrate anything, celebrate life anyway together, because you never know what will happen tomorrow. I'm going to tell you this one story about a couple who could never get along. They could never get along because I found out that her husband cheated on her when they were in their early onset of their marriage. And so she just really gravitated that anger and resentment toward him, and then she was never able to forgive him. One day, as usual, she was about to go on a business tour, and he was a vice president of something, and then that day, he was calling his wife on the way out. Usually he would just walk out without talking to her. But that night, they're like, honey, come down, honey, come down. And then she came down, they became awkward. And then she was on a step, 3 steps up. And then he was way at the bottom. And then he was calling her to come down even closer. Come down more, come down more. So finally she came down to the first, step. And enough for him to be able to touch her shoulder. And then this gentleman, at his early 60s, he found himself touching her shoulder and saying that, honey, you came to my house, you came to our household, you did a lot of work, and I really appreciated it. And then after that, he went on a business trip to, San Diego,
California.
and then California, San Diego, and he had a heart attack. And he was gone. But while he was gone, I met his wife, being amazingly comforted by what he had shared with her at that moment. Who would ever thought that would be the last moment in their relationship to each other? Don't take your marriage for granted. Don't think that we're gonna live forever. The moment that you have is the only moment you have now. And this is the moment where you can cherish each other, learn everything you can learn. Don't be too arrogant or bossy and all that. I know none of you are like that. Learn to humble, learn to be teachable, grow with yourself, and allow yourself to be expanded in such a way that you become all that you are designed to be. And for ladies, my wife is going to go over very quickly, and then we're going to finish our talk.
I think as a lady, women, we hold a lot of power. We have the privilege, and the words that we speak can empower a man so much. When we appreciate, acknowledge, accept, and just verbalizing, we empower men. And so I think as women, I think that's such a gift that God has given to us. And what a privilege it is for me. I feel I'm born as a woman to empower my man. It's a wonderful feeling. And so I know that you are all such a beautiful couple here. I know that your marriage will continue to prosper. And there's more things that we can do, but that was just some things that I came up with. I used to always tell my husband, you're number one. You're number one.
Really?
And then, honey.
No, I mean, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're going to have to tell the story.
Yes. I'm going to tell you a story about my relationship with my wife. It was about 15 years ago when I was traveling all over the world for 5 years, going all of the places. I was out of the house 36 weekends of the year. So I was gone a lot. And then during that time, we lived in California, where we were living in a canyon area where everything kind of, echoes. And so then, my wife, I didn't want to wake her up. So especially for me to go on a trip to East Coast from Southern California, I had to leave like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I would leave all my clothes outside, and I love her that much. And I would walk out very quietly and dress up myself. And then I'm so used to wearing ties and all that, so I can dress up myself in darkness. And then I would take my luggage, and then as I was going out of the house, that door, I could not help but making it click. You know, it makes that clicking sound, and it was loud enough for her to hear, I guess. And so then I walked out. I get into my, simple car, Toyota Camry, good old car. And I got in this car, and then the way the road was designed is that I had to go up, and then I had to come down.
Make a U-turn,
to make a turn. So I went up, and then as I was coming down, I could almost guarantee that my wife would be out there with her pajamas, okay? And so I find myself roll down the window, being prepared, because I was like going out, and then she was just meeting me right on that moment. And as soon as I rolled down the window, I could see her being out, and then she didn't realize how loud she could be, right? And then she was like, "Honey, I'll be praying for you." And then when she does that, it made me so empowered as a man. I forgot the fact that I was on a regular car. I thought I was on a sports car. So I was finding myself accelerating the car, And that's what I mean by empowering your husband, believing in your husband, and then allowing him to know that you are number one. Okay? Do you like that? Yeah, that was what really real blessing. Okay.
Another one is that we can be also initiators. We don't always have to wait, but I think it's fun when we can initiate intimacy and lead him too. So.
In order for ladies to initiate for a intimate relationship, man cannot always be dominant in the relationship. The man is dominant in the relationship, even in the arena of sexuality. Woman all of a sudden cannot be initiating, right? So that means that you need to be democratic. You need to learn to share things and co-leadership and all that, and then that would allow a room for a wife to initiate. Okay.
I think lastly, let's not nag as women, but use I statement instead of complaining like you're too busy or like I have a request.
You mean nagging?
Yes, that kind of nagging.
Okay.
So
sounds like a duck. Okay.
So as women, we could nag. I could nag at too, but I'm learning to say use I statement. This is how I feel. I have a request. Can we make time this week? If not this week, next week. Put it on the calendar, because life gets so busy. But we need time to be husband and wife and lovers.
For a long time, I used to think that whenever she was talking to me, I used to feel like, oh, okay, now she's nagging again and again. But then one day, something changed. And then she began to use I statement. And then she began to tell me something, somehow, some way. It started to get my attention. You remember? And then she started saying things like, "Honey, you have no idea how important you are to me, because if you cannot fulfill me, where I would go? I cannot go any other man to be fulfilled. You are my man. You are the only one man in your life, and you are all I have. I left all men. I left everything to be with you." Whoa. Whoa.
Didn't we leave million men to be with our one man?
And that's when I realized that, man, I'd better meet this woman's need, otherwise she may go to the other. No, just kidding. Yeah, so let's close with the final words
That's
here.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Simply ask.
Ask.
Without complaining,
Without
using
complaining.
I statement.
Okay.
And
So I have a homework for you, is to go to the moon tonight, okay? Or this week. I hope to see you in the moon, okay? Go to the moon. And then somebody came up to me and said, after I give a talk, somebody came up to me and said, "Doctor, I have a trouble. I have a trouble in my marriage. We've been married for 10 years, but we never took off from the earth. So how do I get to the moon?" Well, Sorry, that's not my problem, so I'm just kidding. But I want you to know that if you apply this principle, your marriage will definitely be benefiting in a way that it would blossom, it would be fulfilling, and all that it can be. May God bless your relationship with each other, so much so that your children look up to you and said, I want that. I want to be like what they have, you know? Hope that your family will continue to live out the legacy of love and celebration on and on, from generation to generation. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for all that you do for the community, for the family,
We
for
honor
Penang
you.
Hospital. We honor each and
We
every
honor
one
and
of you.
respect each and every one of you.
We
It is
honor
our
each and
privilege
every
to
one
be
of you.
here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.